have a rare Thursday morning. I am actually in the car with Mark. We need to go into Anchorage and pick up our minivan, which we have been renting out all summer on Turo. So I thought this might be a good opportunity to talk about our experience on Turo as we're driving in, and we'll share with you some of the positives, some of the negatives of renting out a car on Turo in Alaska. Now these are going to be our opinions about how it was for us here. I know other people have had different experiences, but we thought that we'd share a couple of the positive and negative things about doing it. Fall has definitely arrived in Anchorage, and we are enjoying watching the leaves turn. It is September 8th right now when we're filming this, so that just to give you reference. It's getting chilly at night and during the day. So yeah, we're just marveling at the leaves changing as we're driving into town. All right, let's talk about Turo. At the beginning of the summer, we bought a 12-passenger van, and I love that van. And so we decided to try renting out our minivan on Turo because there is a shortage of rental cars in Anchorage right now. They're really hard to get, they're really expensive, so we thought, we'll try it. And it was an interesting experience. It filled up really, really fast, and we were able to pretty much rent it out back to back. We did 12 rentals over the course of the summer. Now, one of the things that we did not expect was how many miles people would put on our vehicle.
When we listed on Turo, we thought people would drive, you know, a couple hundred miles and then go see a few sites. What we didn't realize is that almost every single person that came to Alaska to rent it, they drove all the way up to Denali and back, and then down to Seward or Homer. So they put over 1,000 miles per trip on our car. So way more than we thought they were going to. You know, the trip up to Denali, that's something that locals would maybe do once a year, maybe twice, you know, but I mean, I guess people it's on their bucket list and they want to drive all the way up there. It's about a 5-hour drive.
To put it in reference, we've probably been up there twice since we have lived here for the last 14 years. So locals don't travel that, so we don't travel that often.
You know, but the thing is, it's not that Denali isn't pretty. It is. It's just that locals know all these other places that are just as pretty and special as Denali, but are a whole lot closer. And so we don't necessarily go down there. And there's no hunting or fishing and limited camping in Denali. So and honestly, you often don't even get to see the mountains. So it's kind of a ruse for people going up there.
So that was the first thing we didn't expect. We did not expect people. Most of them put 1,200 miles on the car in 5 days, which was a ton, and that's a lot of wear and tear on the car. So in one summer, they put on more miles than I typically put on the car in an entire year. So that was the first thing we did not expect. One positive thing about renting our car out on Turo was that the people seemed to be, in general, great people. They left the car nice and clean, and they took good care of it while they were using it. So that was something that we were really quite happy with. We still had to vacuum it out and wipe things down and take the trash out of it sometimes. Some people left it really clean, even took it and like vacuumed it out and took it through a car wash, but we would wash it in between each one. So we were, all in all, we were happy with the people and how they treated the car when they were in it.
I think to make good, it's easy. It's vacuum it and swoop in it.
And then it's clean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And another thing was, we had this car rented out for most of the whole summer, but as you've seen in our probably other videos, we did a ton of other trips and family things during the summer. So sometimes it was tricky. When the car came in, we had to you know, go clean it and get it set up and flopped or turned around for another customer. The other challenge was we did this in Anchorage, so we didn't have people drive all the way out to our home. And so that was good when I was coming in for work, and bad just because I also have a full-time regular job, and so something extra to do.
So you have a couple options with Turo. You can deliver the car to people, but that poses its own problem, because then, you know, I would have all 4 kids and have to drop the car off and then have somebody pick me up. It was just difficult. So we chose to have the car at a drop-off location, which happened to be Mark Mark's work. Mark's work is about 5-minute drive from the airport, so we chose to leave it there and people would come and pick it up. But that meant that Mark had to clean it out a lot when he'd like go in for work, or I would have to drive into Anchorage, clean the car out, and then drive home to make sure it was ready for the next person. So if this is not something you're doing as like a full-time job, it can be really tricky, especially because summer in Alaska is really busy. We were often like cleaning the car in Anchorage before we were driving to Homer, which is a 5-hour drive, and then so we would like do it on the way and then drive to Homer. So it was a bit of an inconvenience. All right, one really big positive is we did end up making $5,500 from Turo this summer. Since this was something that was completely new to us, we chose to have the highest level of insurance. So what happens when you sign up with Turo is they have an insurance policy for when the car is rented out, and it's separate from your private insurance. And that's the only reason we were able to do this. I would have not done this on my private insurance. So we chose to take a 60-40 split. We would get 60% of the profits, and Turo kept 40%. But that meant that the car was completely covered under their insurance, so we didn't have to worry if anything happened to it. Luckily, nothing happened. And I'm not sure how the process, it could have been kind of tricky to figure out the process of getting a claim in if something had happened. We were lucky and the car did well all summer. Another thing about renting out your personal vehicle on a site like Turo was it's your personal car, so you're like, you know, it'd be one thing if you bought a bunch of cars and just rented them out as a business, but people like pointed out every little thing that was wrong with your car. This window doesn't work properly. This is weird, you know, and things that you just live with and don't even notice. So then I had to tell everybody after that, like, oh, the left mirror, the button doesn't work. But you never had time to go and get it fixed because we usually only had about 12 to 24 hours to turn the car around before the next person. So there was no time to go and get the car serviced or fixed in between. So I don't know what they expect you to do to keep it in like tip-top shape, but that was a little bit stressful, like worrying about the fact that little things didn't work in the car. Most people were just really grateful to have a car to rent, so they were willing to look over those type of things. Bless you. But it did cause a little bit of stress, like we had a tire that was losing air and we didn't, you know, you were worried that somebody was going to get stranded, but we took it in and got it fixed, but it just made for a couple stressful afternoons for us. Okay, just give me your opinion all in all. Are we going to do it again? Do you think it was a good thing? What do you think?
So, I mean, all in all, I think we were really fortunate that we didn't have any major problems. They did put a lot more wear and tear on it, so we'll see if there's problems. I don't think we'd do it in the future. We were trying to, you know, kind of offset the cost of purchasing that new to us, that used 12-passenger van, which I think we're successful at. I think it might be one of those things where get out while the getting's good, and it worked out. Plus, it was only good for us because of the extraordinarily high rates that we could charge. I mean, it was ridiculous how much we were charging a day, well over $100 a day. And so, you know, if normal rates and like at $50 a day or something, totally would not be worth it to us, I don't think. So for this year in the kind of this COVID economy, totally worth it. And we'll just have to see next year, you know. And also we had another vehicle, so if we didn't have that extra vehicle, it would not have made sense, and you know, it would have been made sense to have Lauren be stranded.
Yeah, so all in all, I think it was a good thing. It was a good learning experience. We also have an Airbnb, so maybe we'll come back and talk about that sometime. We do not do the Airbnb during the summer. My parents live in the apartment, so if we had had to do both, I think it would have just been too much for us. So we just did the car for the summer. We're going to pick it up for the last time, and now we're having to deal with cleaning the Airbnb and all that stuff. So maybe in a future video we can give you our opinion about running an Airbnb in Alaska. I do have one story which was kind of like could have been a bad thing with the car. We had one gentleman who rented the car. When it came time to drop off the car, people were supposed to leave the car, hide the keys, lock it, and we had an extra set of keys. And when they pick it up, we would have a lockbox on the window and they could pick the keys up out of the car. So we never really had to be there with people. We didn't interact. We only interacted with very few of the people. Well, this gentleman could not get Uber to pick him up, and he was freaking out, and I was actually on my way to come in. I was at Costco, and then I was gonna go pick up the car and clean it and have it ready, which was not always the case. Sometimes we would have to leave it for a day or two if we were at the cabin or something. Anyways, I was actually on my way into get the car, and he calls and leaves me this frantic message while I'm in Costco that he couldn't get Uber to pick him up, and he drove the car to the airport. He parked it in the parking garage. He left the key in the lockbox, but he couldn't get the lockbox to work, so it was open. So the car was open, the keys were right there, and I was like, ah! Everybody else was able to figure it out, but this gentleman could not, and he was trying to make his flight with his family, which I understand is really stressful, but thankfully I was already on my way into town. I had to call my sister. She drove me to pick up the van. I took it back to Mark's work, cleaned it out, got it all ready, but that was our one poor experience. I do have friends that say that they knew somebody that did it, that their car just got left at the airport running in the lane where you like drop it off, which was not cool. So I'm glad that we went with the option of people having to go to a location and pick it up instead of allowing them just to drop it off at the airport, because I think when people get stressed, sometimes they'll just like leave things thinking, oh, it's not their problem anymore. So all in all, it was a good experience. We don't know if we'll do it again, but we figured we'd tell you kind of an overview of how we felt it went, and it was good. One funny thing that I didn't expect is now when I drive this car, I feel like it's a rental car for me because I forget where all the buttons are. I'm so used to driving my 12-passenger van now. I like have to relearn where like the cruise control is, what buttons work the radio. It's kind of tricky. I always feel like, oh, I'm just not used to this anymore. This is the lockbox we would use to hang it on the window for people.
Mommy.
Yes.
Mommy,
did Dad get you a treat?
yes.
Wow.
You don't get one.
I don't need one, but thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so it just had like a simple lockbox, and then it went over the window and you'd roll the window up. So that's what we used to let people get into the car. We just had them keep that in the center console. Whoops. My sister said she saw a car driving around with one of those lock boxes like still on the handle of the car. The people never took it off and put it in the car when they were renting it, which made me laugh. It's kind of weird to be back in our little van, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a strawberry.
Somebody added this little strawberry thing. They must have thought this car didn't smell very good, but I don't really like strong scented things, and I also don't like things hanging from my rear view mirror, so we're gonna get rid of that real quick. To each person their own, but that's not my thing.
Throw it out.
No, I'm not gonna throw it out. We'll throw it away when we get to our next spot.
Throw it out. What? You said throw away to the trash can.
Yep, I'll throw it away when I see a trash can.